Hey YouTube, it's Matt with Olympus Reptiles, and today what we're going to talk about is, in a recent video we talked about kind of when to rotate your males out, right? So today we're going to talk about the females we use and why we choose to use the ones we use, because our females and our pairings are going to run from the very mundane and very things that we've done for a long time up into some new stuff. I'll give you some examples. Like over here, we've got where did she go? I don't know, lesser and lesser pastel. We could use that. I was more thinking of like this super lesser and a mystic potion. Some things to make some simple stuff, just some simple bells. So why would we keep doing that? And then what else are we working on that's kind of some of the newer things I'm really excited about, which would be this girl here, who she in herself is not new. No, you're not new. She's just a pastel exanthic, right? But she's being bred to a new male this year, which is a pastel Calico Blitz head exanthic, to bring that Blitz, whether you want to call it Blitz, whether you want to call it Hurricane, whether you want to call it Trick, whatever you want to call it, into that exanthic project, which is something we've been working on for a while. So you run the gamut, right? We have stuff that's brand new we're working on doing. We could pull out Desert Ghost stuff if we wanted to as well, or whatever. But then we also are still doing some of these simple things like bells. Again, we're going to make a lot of Inchy Vanilla Ghost stuff, right? So why is that? Well, for me, it's really simple. We have a size we want to get to. We don't really know what that size is. I think, honestly, we might be there for a while, which is going to then start to change kind of how this game works for us. So with that, if we have a female, we use her. There's no point in not using that female just to have her be here. If we weren't going to use her, we would send her on down the road packing to somebody else who would. But we don't do that yet because we haven't gotten to a point with the way we were trying to do things where we have more females than we have space for, more females than we want to breed. So every female we've ever gotten that we're breeding, we've just kept, including the normals, some simple het stuff, because we have found that when it comes time to move those babies, we have enough outlets to move them. It's not a problem. And for me, I, for one, want to have things as simple as some simple combos and some blue-eyed leucistics, all the way up to some of the things that are my passion projects that I want. The reason for that is, like I've said before, my favorite sale that I'll ever make is going to a show. That's right. It's not on Morph Market. It's not online. I love doing those too. That's business. That's money. That's how it works. But it's going to a show, and when you have that kid, right, who saved up some money, or it's their birthday, or whatever reason, you have this kid there, and their parents tell them that they can buy a snake. My favorite thing in the world is to be that vendor that sells them that snake. I love doing it. It makes me feel happy. It makes me feel good, which is worth way more than some extra cash. So I want to make sure I have some things that are always going to be eye-catching, appealing, easier to care for, and not that morphs are more difficult, but certain morph combinations, we sometimes the kids we avoid, like spider and things like that, and that I can be the one that gets that kid into reptiles, because I know I can treat them well when their parents contact me with questions. I know I'm going to be there to answer them. I know we're going to try to give them as good of an experience as we possibly can, even though the money's not big, right? That's not big money. We're not talking about selling a $1,500 snake to a 14-year-old kid or a 12-year-old kid or an 8-year-old kid. We're talking about selling, a couple $100 snake or a $300 snake or sometimes a $90 snake. We're talking about lighting that passionate fire, though. We want them to get their first animal. We want it to be good sized and healthy. We want them to have a good time. We want them to always remember that first reptile show they went to and that first animal they got. And I want to be a part of that memory for them. I want them to be a part of that memory for me, because that is, to me, what moves the hobby, right? It ain't people in their 40s like me who've got 50 snakes or a couple hundred, or I don't even know what's in here right now, buying another snake. We're just already in it. We're not growing it. We're not going to grow the hobby at all. I can't personally buy snakes enough to grow the hobby, right? I mean, it's just trading from breeder to breeder to breeder. So bringing in those new people is the most important thing we can do, especially now when everybody talks about, oh, the market's bad, the market's this, blah, 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 blah. How the fuck do you think it gets better, right? It doesn't get better because people like me are buying more snakes and selling them to the guy that also breeds snakes, who's also selling to that guy over there that breeds snakes, and we all pass snakes around in this big old circle jerk. That is not going to make the market better, y'all. It's not. It really, truly isn't. And you may say, well, it might, because, if you do that, then the prices can go up. Well, yeah, the prices go up, then I'm spending more too. And then I'm buying more, and then I'm spending more. And then it comes down, then I'm selling for less, I'm spending. It's all the same thing. The market will grow when new people come in. We have to get those new people in. That is step number one. So I want to be the guy that does that at times. To me, it's my favorite thing. Now, there's some caveats to that, right? It depends on what you want to do in the reptile hobby. If your main goal is making as much money as you can, is this the hobby for you? Probably better ways to make money. But, it can be done here. I ain't going to tell you it can't. You can make a really good amount of money in this hobby if you catch things at the right time and get a few breaks and work your ass off. It's there, man. It absolutely is there. If that's your goal. If that's your goal, is to make as much money as you possibly can in this, then trying to make things like that to market to that kid buying their first snake, probably not what you want to be doing, okay? Because that's not where the big money is ever going to be. I get that. But for me, money is a side item to this. Like, do I want to make money doing this? Well, yeah, right? I wouldn't do it at this level if I didn't want to make money at this. Like, it would be dumb. It would be way too much work to have this many animals with just the three of us working here to produce this much and produce this many rodents and do all this to not make any money. Nobody in their right mind is going to do that. I'm sure some of you probably do that. You're like, oh, I do that. Hey, man, you're crazy, but good on you. But for me, I wouldn't put that much into this, if I wasn't going to make some money. But that money is the secondary goal, right? The first goal for me is I enjoy my animals and I enjoy hanging out with the people that I work with because they're all friends of mine, right? These are all people I'd hang out with if we weren't doing snakes. These are all people that I would spend time with anyway. They're not people who work for me. They're people who work with me. There's nobody that's my employee here. There's nobody that's underneath me here. It's just not how it works. Everybody's on an equal footing with an equal say. So it's a different type of beast. And I'm not interested in managing people. If I wanted to manage people, go into a different line of work. Kurt, he might want to manage people, but I don't. So the money has to be made to keep this going, one. And we do make enough money to keep this going, and we do make enough money to be profitable at this. This has been something that has made us a decent amount of extra income. But we've always looked at it like that. I've always looked at it as this is a way I'm going to make extra income. Ain't no different than if I wanted to go pick up some Uber driving shifts, right? Ain't no different if I wanted to pick up a second job in the evenings doing whatever. That's what this is. This is my secondary income. It's also a way for me to build some assets like real estate that I wouldn't have bought otherwise, and equipment that I'll one day sell when I get out of this, and stock that I'll one day part with when I get out of this. So it's a way of asset building as well as a way of making secondary job income, right? A little bit of extra scratch on the side kind of thing. So what I'm telling you is you've got to decide what you want to do. If all you want to do is make the most amount of money you can, and that's what you're passionate about, is just money. For one, if money is your only passion in life, man, I'll be blunt, I feel real sorry for you, because it's just I just do, man. There's so much more to life than that, right? It's one of those things where you should be passionate about. If you ain't got none, I get it. We got to eat. We all got to put some food on our table, but there's a point where it just doesn't matter that much. And no, I'm not saying you got to be, it's a lot lower point for me than most people think where it doesn't matter that much. So if that's your driving force, you should build your collection with that in mind. 100%. But if your driving force is simply to make some extra cash, if your driving force is just to have animals and produce some and be passionate and only make those sales, like at those shows and if you online and you want to see those kids and all that, you should probably build your collection to do that. You should probably build your collection a hell of a lot smaller than this, to be blunt. if your driving force is kind of like where I'm at, where you want to do a lot of work on this, you want to make some secondary income on it, you want it to be profitable for you, but you're not worried about it becoming your only job, then, hey man, I'm telling you, you can do it this exact way if you choose. Now, for us, what size do we want to be? Well, I'll tell you, we've got room in here, in this room, to run about 140 females, I think, which is a lot. And depending on what percentage we'd have hit, we probably would never run 140, but originally we thought maybe we'd want to do like 100 clutches a year. But I can tell you, this size right now, we've kind of talked with everything kind of going on in our lives and where we're at, we are probably going to pump the brakes between 50 and 60 clutches a year. So what you may start to see is some of these females that I don't need, especially down the road, kind of start to recycle out probably within the next 14 months. When we're sure we have a replacement we'd rather use, we'll start pushing some of them out the door, just because it's not a space issue. It's an amount of time to do it correctly issue. And if we were to add in another 25 clutches, truth is I don't think the three of us could keep up and have day jobs. We would have to flip this to where this is our only job, and we'd have to be just about that money. And it's just not the life I want to live, man. There's other things I can do to make my money, and other passions besides this that I actually have in life that I also want to put part of my time to. I know Kurt's the same way. He's got about 4 other things he does besides just snakes. Then there's Caleb. Caleb just wants to work animals, but we can't work him too much like a rented fucking mule, because that wouldn't be right. So, we're going to probably stop kind of in that neighborhood. Where that is for you, don't let anybody else tell you where that spot is for you, man. When you start going through this journey, it's going to change. It's changed for me a lot. What I thought I wanted to do has changed for me a lot. Originally, I'll get into Patreon, what my original plans were. And so you guys on Patreon will see how much has changed from the original idea that I had when I started this, which is an idea that is so far gone now, will never come back. Guaranteed, man. I promise you that ship has sailed completely, 100%. But you can't let me or anybody else tell you how much you should breed. You can't let me or anybody else tell you what animals to breed. You got to make that decision for yourself. Here's the reason. I'm going to tell you the truth. If you follow, you'll always be in last place. Right? If you don't do your own thing, you don't do it your way, and you don't, I'm not saying don't learn. Man, learn from us, learn from others, take parts you want, apply it to what you do, to get all the information you can. But you got to make your own path. And if you just try to simply follow somebody else's path, you're always going to be behind. Like, you're not really going to be doing what you want to do. You're going to be doing what they did. And it may work for you and it may not work for you. And I don't ever want to follow. Like, I'm always going to do shit my way. That doesn't mean I don't take advice and learn. I absolutely do. But we're always going to do it the way that, I shouldn't say my way. When the three of us come together and talk and make decisions, we're going to do it that way. Kurt, anything you want to add to that? No. All right, guys, I can tell you then, the clutch that I think I'm the most excited about this year is anything with that pastel Calico Blitz head Xanthic. We got him going to 2. He's a little small this year. He's going to 2 females. That one I showed you was 1. And where is the other one? That was the secondary one. No, it's number 1. The other one's over here somewhere. He's locked to both of them. I think it's another pastel Calico. Another pastel Calico. Another pastel Xanthic. But I'm really, really excited for that clutch, or one of those clutches to go. So that'll be the one that I'll be the most focused on, because the minute I got Blitz, I wanted to brighten it, and I wanted to bring it into Xanthic. And I really, really, really like how the pastel Calico Blitz looks. I think with Xanthic, it's going to be stellar. I do think, though, if we hit both copies of pastel in there, we do a super pastel, it's one animal that may not look as good with a super pastel. We'll have to wait and see. Kurt, what is one pairing that was new for us you're super stoked about this year? And why? Is it big money, or is it because you're just excited about it?
I don't know. I want to...
I put him on the spot, y'all. He hates when I do that.
Are we breeding the banana
Pied?
pied?
Yes. We're breeding that to 2 females this year, both pieds. So you're just wanting to make some banana pieds.
Yep.
Case in point, banana pieds are no longer big money. When we first got into this, banana pieds were 10K, okay? 10K, they've seen a dramatic drop, obviously, for a multitude of reasons. But it was one of those things where we looked and thought, man, we'll never get to have that. Well, now we've got one because they're really reasonable. And now we want to make them because we just want to make them to make our own. So I think that's why you're excited probably about that one. You can't see him. He is shaking his head yes. Although, I'll tell you what, man, Kurt's getting to work a really lazy day. Because we told you already he kind of had a little injury to his shoulder, right? So he's on some medical stuff where he's supposed to be in a sling and all this. And, so he's been replaced with a tripod. He's just monitoring what happens. He's hanging out watching the tripod. But good news is, since he's back able to come up here and film, these things will be edited a lot cleaner than what I did. You'll get better thumbnails than the last 2 and that whole shit show. All right, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.